Thank you, Ms. Zientek, for your testimony. The chair will now recognize the members for 5 minutes of questioning, beginning with myself. Several witness statements have mentioned that tribes have encountered issues with other departments and agencies outside of the Department of Interior while implementing their 477 plans. Mr. Newland, how does the BIA work with a tribe to resolve these issues? And has the BIA found that agencies are generally helpful in resolving these types of situations?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've been working very hard under the interagency agreement that I think every witness mentioned in their testimony. The law itself contemplates that agencies are going to disagree at times about the scope of 477. And I think you've heard some of that from some of the witnesses today. We've been working to make sure, along with our agency partners, that we are meeting the terms of the law as Congress has intended. And we know that Congress has amended Public Law 477 several times to make it clear to federal agencies that Congress means what it says, that tribes can bundle these programs together and integrate them into a single plan. And so the new MOA is less than 2 years old at this point, and I think we've had success on the whole with implementing it. But as you heard from Ms. Zientek just now, there have been some challenges. We're trying to work through them, but again, in all of our conversations with our agency partners, we emphasize that it is the 50-year policy of the United States as embodied by Congress, as reaffirmed by the President, as affirmed by the Secretary and all the other cabinet secretaries who've signed this MOA, that we should be guided by self-determination and allowing tribes to set the agenda on how these funds are used.
I appreciate that, and I do want to note for the record that today we received a letter from the Department of Justice, DOJ, and it relates to the Wyandotte situation with the department indicating that these programs or these grants will be expedited and moving forward quickly. So we appreciate that information. We appreciate you continuing to work with the agencies and tribes themselves to make sure that we can address these and carry out the intent of Section 477. Your written statement mentioned that the department is working with partners and tribes to update the annual reporting form for the 477 program. What necessitated the update to this form, and what other data is useful to capture in the annual reporting?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, would you repeat the first part of your question?
Yes. What necessitated the updating of this form? Why was it necessary to do so? And what other data would be useful to capture in the annual reporting?
So one of the reasons we need to update the form is to make sure that there's consistency and simplicity, which again is what Public Law 477 envisions. And we want to make sure that tribes are not having to use all manner of different forms depending on what programs they're integrating into their 477 plan. And so that's really the impetus behind this. In terms of additional information that might be useful, I would have to offer to get back to you on that one, Madam Chair, because I want to be inclusive to aid the committee in any solutions you may be considering.
Okay, I appreciate that. And Mr. Spoonhunter, in your written statement, you mentioned that bureaucratic inefficiency should be reduced where possible. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And in fact, this morning had a judiciary subcommittee hearing dealing specifically with administrative and bureaucratic issues. Could you elaborate further on where Northern Arapaho has seen these inefficiencies in the 477 program, and what changes would improve these inefficiencies? What do you recommend that we do?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Under the 477 law, it was developed, a single program with simple reporting requirements as stated. There are some reports, though, from different agencies that fit under the 477 umbrella that still require separate reporting, duplicated reporting on behalf of staff. You have a tribe of 10,600 in Northern Arapaho. you have 27 staff members there who can work on these reports, but you have tribes that are anywhere from 100 to 500 people, and there are only 2 or 3 people within that program. So having to duplicate these reports, you're taking staff time away from the staff that can work on the needs and services of the tribal people. And also, with the TANF program, for example, the other programs that are the funding awards that are transferred over to the Department of Interior to put under the 477 umbrella, those funds come in a single award at the beginning of the fiscal year. Unfortunately, you have the TANF program who does not do this. The TANF program under HHS ACF does not give the full funding award at the beginning of the fiscal year, so you compromise the services that are able to be met by the program to the clients and to the tribal members by the lack of funding that is received from TANF.
Just very quickly, do you believe that these are changes that could be done administratively, or do you believe that the law itself needs to be changed?
These are program administrative changes that can be done within the agencies.
Okay.
And if we can move them that way, that provides better services and more effectively to Indian country for the tribal people.
Okay. Well, thank you. And the chair now recognizes the ranking member for her 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the summary of the things that are working, right? That it sounds like the 2022 renegotiated memorandum that the Biden administration did made huge gains, right? It just sounds like you worked really hard, because you're the ones who worked really hard to get those 2017 amendments in. So it must have been incredibly frustrating when in 2018 there was an MOA that you were left out of the process. So what I heard was 2022, you liked that. You liked the Biden administration executive order because that has moved forward. But one of my concerns is the fact that we have had these delays, even with the new MOA, even with the new law, of the funding. And I think it's really important to have the subcommittee here so that the assistant secretary can go back. You don't understand. This is what it means when you don't move quickly, right? Because you, in many ways, have to take those voices and educate, and in a very nice way, I know, your fellow agencies. But, if I could hear from the perspective of the Northern Arapaho and the Wyandotte, share with us what happens when there are these delays. Like, just if you could real quickly just say, what does it mean to your tribe when there's this delay in getting this funding forward? Mr. Spoonhunter, we'll start with you.
So with the 477 program, as you know, it is designed to meet the needs of our tribal people, specific needs of Indian country that states, they follow a universal pattern, is where you can't do the cookie cutter approach with tribes. And so the specific needs that tribes, the funding that they receive, it's very vital that these program funds come in at the beginning of the fiscal year. Again, I talk about the services that are provided to our children and to our families that are served under 477. Now, we compromise those services by these delays when these funds aren't to get delivered over to the Department of Interior in a timely manner. So working together, I believe that if we can have agencies come on board to be giving the funding award to Department of Interior in a timely manner, we better serve our community. We make success for future generations to come. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you. And Chief Friend, could you share with us real quickly what it means when a tribe doesn't get these funds through that you had been expecting?
Thank you. Well, it's a larger issue that, especially when it comes to the reporting aspect, because it takes a lot of our time away from our staff that could be serving the clients in our program, when they're burdened down with, a lot of different reports, whether it's quarterly reports, the different agencies that are part of that, it reduces the administrative burdens that we can spend more money on providing those direct services to the clients that are in need. And so instead of the staff consumed with reporting requirements, they actually are freed up to help those in the community that are actually in need, whether it be in workforce, whether it be childcare, whether it be educational services. The reduced administrative time means that more time spent with our clients.
Thank you. And I want to make, for the last question, move like in a forward-looking basis. So Ms. Zientek, and if you could quickly say one of the issues is right now, I'm saddened that not more agencies actually participate, right? That not all the agencies are eligible to participate. Thank you very much. Your written testimony was great, laying out the things. Where do you think we should push so that there is more participation that you think would make a big difference? And if you can be quickly, because I also want to hear from Mr. Newland on that issue.
Each tribe determines what is best for them. So if we could get past this dance that we do with agencies and educate them and educate how to work together. We have offered to work with Department of Interior staff, Division of Workforce Development, and train these agencies, educate them on this. I understand the issue with DOJ and the letter just received today. They finally got in their head, yeah, we do have to move the money. So it's that education piece could help. But it is going to depend on tribes. As you heard earlier, it's not cookie cutter. We each make our own decision of what works for us in our area. And no two tribes programs will be the same.
Right. And we've run out of time, so I would love to hear your thoughts and response in writing to the questions, because I've run out of time, and with that, I yield back.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes the representative from California, Mr. Lamolfa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me kind of a sidebar with Mr. Secretary Newland for a moment. Just wanted to point out or remind on up in my general area, the Coquille tribe, up north of my district, the Oregon side. We have we're 24 representatives and senators from California and Oregon. Pardon my voice, please. Haven't been hanging out with RFK Jr. But anyway, they represent over 60 tribes, and they've written to express that the Coquille tribe's proposal to build a new casino 170 miles from existing lands, from their own existing lands, that the casino doesn't really fit within the spirit or actually comply with the law, harms other tribes, and should be rejected by the department. So I hope you've had a chance to take heed of this guidance and this request, and that maybe the department will be informing us that they've decided to reject the project. So if the department is indeed going to stick with its own regulations, its own requirements, then its responsibilities to all the tribes across the board. So I just wanted to put that out, and I know you have that ongoing, and I think that's still a strong opinion in the neighborhood. So thank you. I'm going to turn to Chief Friend here. Now, we've heard about examples of federal agencies which not properly implementing the 477 program. So in the one example, the agency was told the tribe to continue issuing quarterly reports, even though that requirement was supposedly had been rescinded. And then in another example, the agency is insisting that it must sign off and approve specific expenditures that the tribe would be making. So, of course, with the title of the hearing being about self-determination and tribal autonomy, how do examples like that fit with what the rechanneling of the 477 program? So have you had a chance to bring up these disputes with the BIA? Have they taken any actions to correct the overreach in those areas? Thank you.
As far as the DOJ, which was one of the examples that we gave, we hope that this situation has been going to be resolved. We've been working closely with DOI, and DOI has greatly supported us in the BIA in this matter. the flexibility to use those funds, applying the 477 program eligibility across these programs for DOJ with regards to ensuring DOJ transfers the approved funds. DOI has set up a meeting, in fact, for later this week, I believe, with the Wyandotte and the DOJ. This, of course, is before we were made aware of the letter that was issued today by the Department of Justice. And just to say we did have the opportunity to glance at that letter that was submitted to the hearing. It appears to maintain the position that DOJ can refuse to transfer dollars in other situations. I think that was the last paragraph. And so while we feel like that the letter did state that they would transfer the funds, I think there's probably needs some clarification with what they mean by in other situations. But, some of the examples that we gave, for example, LIHEAP requires a separate report. TANF have long required quarterly report despite significant pushback from tribes. With DOJ prior to integration of our new program into 477, DOJ was requiring approvals for costs that are already covered by the grant. And so we hope that it can be made clear to all federal partners and agencies and staff that their independent oversight automatically falls away once a program is integrated into 477.
Okay.
We hope that they realize that those reporting requirements are dropped.
Okay. Thank you. Let me direct that also to Secretary Newland, that, again, with imposing these new requirements in the 477, which is against congressional intent, and the department's implementation for the program, shouldn't you, Secretary, be stepping in to uphold the integrity of the program and not have it continue this way?
Thank you, Congressman. We're attempting to do just that. I think when we look back at the adoption of the Self-Determination Act 50 years ago, we saw a lot of resistance in different federal agencies to tribal control over federal programs in tribal communities. And I think we have a similar experience here in some pockets of the federal government with retrograde paternalistic views when it comes to tribes. But my view is Congress has made its intent clear with Public Law 477. The President and the Cabinet have consented to that or subscribed to that view of self-determination, and we're going to work through it and make sure that we're fulfilling Congress's intent, empowering tribes, and not leaving these decisions in the hands of small offices and different federal agencies.
Thank you.
Thank you. The chairman now recognizes the Representative Carl.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Spoonhunter, it's always a pleasure to see you, sir. You've always got that smile on your face, and I appreciate it. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's worth emphasizing that only those who live it truly understand it. The bureaucratic agencies in Washington who do not see the real-time impact must take steps back and prioritize the voices of those directly affected. The Indian Employment Training and Related Services Act of 1972, or the 477 program, is instrumental in empowering the tribal communities through self-determination by simplifying access to critical services and reducing administrative burdens. With that in mind, I'd like to hear your perspectives on two important aspects, and I'll give them to you separate. Given the challenges and opportunities of highlighting during this hearing, what recommendations do you propose we impose on implementing the 477 program and further enhancing its effectiveness in supporting the tribal community?
Thank you for that question, Representative Carl. It's always good to see you also. As Ms. Zientek said earlier, we do a song and dance with all these agencies all the time. We are trying to educate and convince at some point to some agencies why these programs should be under 477. With the resiliency of tribes and as we have worked together with our government the best way that we can. There are a lot of programs that need to go under 477 that we could be here all day to talk about them. But again, as you've seen time and time again as a committee, that the 638 self-determination, self-governance, and 477 programs work together. I think that agencies need to sit down with the Department of Interior and need to be educated on why tribes are seeking funding and putting these programs under 477. They need to come to Indian country and see why each tribe is very unique in their situation and why they want to do this program under 477.
My second question, can you share some success stories or key achievements your tribe has experienced as a result of participating in the 477 program and how it has contributed to advancing the tribal's self-determination?
So on the Wind River Reservation, we have about a 74% unemployment rate, which is very high at Wind River. And at one point, one of our elders told our tribal council that the bridge out of poverty is education. So through traditional education, cultural-based education, we have moved to enhance our work with traditional higher education and also vocational training, but also to think outside the box. And that's what this program is all about, is thinking about outside the box, is how do we educate and train our tribal members to go to work, to be culturally based, self-sufficient, and self-sustainable, healthy families.
And you and I have talked about this before, but we're in need of about 6,000 to 8,000 welders, pipe fitters, and CDL drivers. I heard you talk about CDL earlier. Drivers in the Mobile, South Alabama area, and anyone you want to send us, we'll take them. So thank you again. Thank you for the entire group for coming and speaking to us. Madam, turn my time.
I want to thank the witnesses for your valuable testimony today. I think that any time we have a new program that goes into place, it's important to have a look back and understand what is working, what is not, and then working with either the agency or Congress itself to make the changes that are going to make it work better. It has been a priority of myself, and I know Ms. Ledger-Fernandez as well, to make sure that we do have the autonomy and the sovereignty. And when I hear things like about the unemployment rate on the Northern Arapaho, in the Northern Arapaho tribe, it makes me that much more intent on trying to address that and provide the services and the training necessary and the education so that we can bring these folks out of poverty and make them a very functioning member of society. So we really do appreciate your involvement today. We've had a lot of hearings over the last couple of days because we are just getting ready to go back into a recess on Friday. So I know some of our other members are in other hearings right now, or they would have been here. They know that this is an important issue. This has been a very bipartisan subcommittee, I believe, throughout the last 14 months in attempting to address and resolve these issues and bring people in to better educate us on the issues that need to be addressed in Indian country. So I wish that we had a bit more participation today, but again, I believe it's in part because of the other hearings that are going on and people getting ready to head back to their districts. The members of the committee may have some additional questions for the witnesses, and we will ask for you to respond to these in writing. I believe there's one question at least directed at you, Mr. Newland, and if you could provide us that information, I think it would be very helpful. Under Committee Rule 3, members of the committee must submit such questions to the committee clerk by 5 p.m. on Monday, March 25th, 2024, and the hearing record will be open for 10 business days for your responses. If there is no further business, without objection, the committee stands adjourned.